the Irrational Confidence Podcast. The top 25.
Honorable mention. It's time to get after it.
The Boise State Broncos coming off an 8-6 year last year. Spencer Danielson is now the official coach.
Just start and with Jeanty. And that guy's a machine.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Irrational Confidence Podcast. We are finally back. It's season number 4. We're back talking college football. It's preseason time. The preview magazines are out. We disagree with some of them. We agree with other ones. And the man who is joining me for the 4th season. Again, we're not going 1, not 2, not 3. No, this is our 4th season together. Fresh, how you doing, buddy?
Haps, early summer, itching for football. It's time. Transfer portal sort of shut down for the season. Guys are in off-season workouts, gearing up for fall camp. It's time to get after it.
Yeah, it's incredible to think that this is where we've gotten to after 4 seasons, that we're back to what we enjoy talking about. You know, it's been cool to interview Dominique Wilkins, talk draft, NFL, March Madness, all those, but nothing beats us talking about why we started this podcast.
So, Haps, is this our senior year, red shirt junior year, gray shirt junior year? How are we going to qualify this one?
Well, I think that first year doesn't count. Isn't that the COVID doesn't count year?
COVID year, so we got an extra one, so it's our junior year. I like it.
Right. Hey, guys, we're going to bring all sorts of college football content to you all summer long, into the fall, with you all season. So making sure you don't miss a single ounce of the action. Hit that subscribe button in there. Hit the notification bell. Get notified every single time we drop a new episode. We're going all preseason long. We're going to have so much content for you, so you don't want to miss it. Let us know down in the comments what you think about our pick. Do we overrate these teams? Do we underrate these teams? Because, Fresh, it is time for us to talk about the top 25, but we can't always agree on 25 teams, so we decided to do 5 just outside the top 25, just a bit outside. Got to throw in some Bob Uecker there. But these are teams that are on the outside looking in for the top 25, so we kind of call them our 30 through 26. So our first
honorable mentions, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Our first honorable mention this year, right now we kind of have them right at the 30 spot, is the Boise State Broncos, coming off an 8-6 year last year. Spencer Danielson is now the official coach for the Boise State Broncos. They're Big Blue. They got some interesting things going on at Boise State. Fresh, what you got for previewing the Broncos?
I mean, last year they were in some turmoil in the middle of the year. Obviously some issues. The Mountain West is a fantastic football conference, folks. And if we've been telling you for a while, they play great ball up there.
Right.
And this team was, Boise State usually is always on top, but they were kind of wading through trying to find themselves. They get rid of the head coach. They replace him. He's an interim. And that team just turns it on. Something clicked for them all. And they went on, won the Mountain West. And now here they are coming into the season in the Mountain West Conference, which UNLV had a great year last year. Looking forward to see what they can do. Fresno State's good. Air Force is packed in there. Colorado State has talent. San Jose State's always good. San Diego State, the list goes on. But Boise State is always there. And I think the story always continues for this season coming forward, that same moniker. Boise State's still in control of the conference. They have ups and downs, but in the end, they're right there in the conversation always for a Mountain West title. And this season coming forward, they have a unique look to them, offensively and defensively. The number one guy we're going to talk about, Ashton Jeanty, we'll talk about him in a little bit. Obviously born here in Jacksonville, Florida. And folks, if you don't know, the Irrational Confidence Podcast is based out of Jacksonville, Florida. So serious shout out for him out there in Boise. But this team has gone out and got 2 guys who were top 50 overall prospects coming out of high school, who went different places, struggled, didn't have the success or didn't get as much playing time. And now they're here. They're at the smart turf. First being Malachi Nelson, 5-star quarterback, arguably the number 1 overall player in the country a couple of years ago, maybe top 5 overall recruit in consensus, rankings, sat behind Caleb for a year, lost his job, or he didn't want competition, or just wanted a unique, change of pace and came out to Boise. But he's now the quarterback there for the Broncos. And the other kind of quieter move was wide receiver Chris Marshall. He was a big, huge heralded recruit. Went to Texas A&M a couple of years ago during that massive class they brought in. They struggled. He went to JUCO route for a year, and now he's bringing his talents to Boise. These three players offensively, talent alone, electric, pure electricity all across the board. How do they all gel? How do they play in a disciplined system in a very good football conference in the Mountain West? And that's really, I think, going to gauge Boise State offensively. Defensively, they have a lot of good players. I think they're very talented across the board. You kind of look at Ahmad Hassan, Andrew Simpson, Amarian McCoy, and Say Oladipo. Those four players, one defensive line, linebacker, corner, and safety, all four levels of that defense. They got talented players that are going to really rise up. But how's the offensive guys do perform at a high level is what I'm really looking at as we come forward in this year. So, but it's going to start and end with Jeanty, and that guy's a machine. And I'll kind of turn it over to you, Seth. But Jeanty is going to be the workhorse for the Broncos.
Well, let me ask you this question, Fresh, here. We're in like an age of great running backs with Gordon, with two kids at Penn State, with the two kids at Ohio State, Hampton over at North Carolina. Let's ask this question. Jeanty, top 5 running back in college football.
I wouldn't give him top 5. I would give him definitely top 10.
He's definitely top 10.
Yeah. I mean, he rolled into that starting role late last year, and right. They moved off Helani, moved into him, but he earned the spot. I think there's too many other talented backs at high-profile programs going against a probably better defense across the board. But he is definitely maybe top 8, I would give him. I want to see what he does as a full-time starter this year with expectations that everyone sort of keep an eye on him.
Is it because he plays at Boise? Because think about this. Let's change the question here a little bit. If Jeanty was the starting running back, he's coming off a 1,300-yard a year, 14 touchdowns, 6.1 yards a carry, and he plays at a place like Notre Dame or Texas. Does that change your perception? Is it because the competition would have been better they performed against? Because
I think competition, because you look, he has 2,168 yards in 2 years, 21 touchdowns, so he's getting a lot of in the red zone touches. So He's getting scores, which is fantastic. The yards there, you mentioned he had 1,300 last year, playing about the last 9 games of the year. The year before, tried to find his footing. I want to see how he builds off of that. You talked about Amarian Hampton, and he showed flashes at North Carolina. What is he also going to do year 2? Actually, I think, Ollie Gordon, I think you made a great call with those two guys. They're all the same boat because they had one amazing year this past year. Mm-hmm. The year before that, nobody knew really who Gordon was. Hampton wasn't the guy at North Carolina. But being in a bigger conference, going against a constant rigor of the schedule like that, I think gives him a little more pop. And he was also alternating with Helani a lot early in the year. This year, though, will be a great chance for him to really explode. And if he could keep that same consistency up, he could even be top 3 running back, maybe even put himself in conversation, for the Doak Walker.
Yeah, that's the question I have for Boise State. Like, I'm a big fan of Jeanty. I agree with you. I would have him right around that 7-8 range when you're talking about the best running backs in the country right now. I think, again, you're right. Competition makes a huge difference a little bit, but dude, you can't deny talent there. And there's talented football players no matter where you play football in the country. You brought up the transfers that are coming in, that they brought in Malachi Nelson. I want to know if this offense can be like that truly balanced Boise State attack this year. Or are they, with the new blood that's coming in there, you're getting guys into the culture. Yes, I know they're there for spring football. I know you have all of that stuff going on. But it takes time to build chemistry. And they got a heck of a game week 2 going into Eugene. But on paper, they got the firepower to go up against the Ducks. Now, I think probably the difference is I don't know if their defense is stout enough to stop Oregon, but I think that they do have the firepower on paper. Again, guys see a gel. So I need to see if this offense is going to be a balanced attack where they're going to have passing and being able to kind of supplement Jeanty on the ground game there and keeping him healthy. And then the other question I have for them right now is last year they led the Mountain West in sacks. They were tied 11th nationally with getting their pressures to the quarterback there. Are they able to continue that? Are they able to keep up that pass rush and get after the quarterback? Again, you might not go up against the best of the best on the offensive line there, but this is one of the elite group of 5 teams. This is a group of 5 team that if on the second week of college football there, September 7th, and we wake up on Sunday morning and Boise is knocked off Oregon, it's not like this massive shock like App State beating Michigan. This is a team that people are going to say, hey, it's still a big upset and not taken away from the quantity of the upset, but this isn't New Mexico going into Auburn to beat them. This would be a decent upset, but people will be like, well, it's Boise State. They're an upset team.
Yeah, that monumental upset happened when they were in the Fiesta Bowl and took out Oklahoma, and they kind of announced themselves, and they've been there ever since, and they stayed, which is also unique. We kind of look at all these other, like, group 5 teams where they have that one year where they make that run, and it was like they're the little darlings, they're the great team. Oh, they're going to be out. They're going to join the Big Ten or the SEC or the ACC or the Big 12. They're going to be the guy that makes the next jump. And then all those players in that squad are all graduate or all leave or get drafted, and you never really hear from them on a consistent level. They kind of have an ebb and flow. Boise State, like I mentioned in the end, they've been at the top of that Mountain West Conference ever since. Like, they've stayed there in that upper echelon of that conference. Financially and regionally, they're probably not going to go anywhere unless the Pac-2 and the Mountain West blended into the Mountain Pac, if they want to call it, and made themselves a quote-unquote Group of 5 conference now, a Power 5 conference, excuse me. But they've put themselves in a tier of an elite football program in this nation where people know them and they see them winning consistently. The one thing, on the other side, look at Cincinnati Bearcats. They go to the college football playoff 2 years ago. Fickle leaves, goes did a great job, awesome, fantastic. Last year, they laid an egg because a lot of those guys all left.
Right.
Where are they going to go right there? Satterfield's not the greatest of coach. That program's like, we're back to who we are. But Boise's done it where they stayed.
Right.
It's funny how you mentioned, having a chance to beat Oregon. Yes, you look at the schedule for this team. Washington State and Oregon State are on the schedule, but they're hollow. They're not the Oregon State and Washington State we saw last year or the year before. A lot of those talented players either graduated or have transferred out because they're not in a conference. So you're playing a name only. Are you getting the same talent at that level? I'd argue no. I think you're probably going to get it maybe even less than some of the better teams in that own conference.
Right. Hey, so I was looking at their schedule this year fresh. I got 4 games stretched. I'm really looking at them. It starts Saturday, November 9th. If anyone knows this, Nevada plays Boise State tough all the time. Nevada plays Boise State and Fresno State very, very tough, no matter how good Nevada is as well. Then they have to go on the road to San Jose State, then over at Wyoming, and then end it with Oregon State on the blue. But what I found when I was looking at them, they were 6-2 at home, but 2-4 on the road last year. When they left the state of Idaho, you would see a little bit different team. Can you get consistency away from the road there? I thought that 4-game stretch could be a little tricky for them. Again, they also got that UNLV game in October, end of October.
It's funny. I looked at the exact same thing, but I even took it one game ahead of that. I looked at they're at Hawaii. They get a 2-week break. UNLV, San Diego State, then Nevada.
Right.
And then obviously you have at San Jose and at Wyoming. That's a stretch right there of 6 tough, very tough games, bookended by a trip to Hawaii and a trip to Laramie, Wyoming, they're not easy for different reasons. One, it's a long flight to Hawaii. That's a huge major, body clock thing. And then Laramie, Wyoming, you're going a mile above sea level. It's outside. It's raucous. It's rowdy. How is the team going to navigate that conference? Because if they beat Oregon or even play Oregon tough and they run the table the rest of the way and they win the Mountain West, this team could be that 12th team in the playoff.
Right.
They could get that spot. But navigating that schedule in the Mountain West with those different issues is going to really challenge this entire football team to the core to see if they are truly made for that.
What you got for their ceiling? Where do you see, like, best case scenario if I'm a Boise fan?
Best case, 11-1, and then on top of that, winning the Mountain West, so 12-1, heading into bowl season and crossing your fingers to get in the playoff spot.
I got them best case scenario 10-2. I think that, again, it's going to be a mighty task to go into Eugene, beat Oregon right now. I think they're going to get tripped up on the road. Again, those 4 games we talked about just a minute ago, Hawaii, UNLV, San Jose State, and Wyoming. It wouldn't shock me if they got tripped up. But again, 10-2, being the Group of 5 representative in the college football playoff, and not an easy out in that first round of the playoff here because of the offense. Again, I think this offensive firepower is going to be there for them. Are they going to be able to protect the quarterback as well? I got worst case scenario. I really don't. I think their floor is really high too. I got worst case scenario is what, 8-4.
My worst case scenario is 6-6 because we don't really know what Malachi Nelson's going to bring. In the end, no matter what you're playing, what level, the quarterback is important. And it still scares me to death why he left USC. It's not for the money. You're not getting out of hell money going to Boise. You had it all there at USC. Are you scared? Did you walk away from the competition? Miller Moss. Would you have issues with Lincoln Riley, the coaching staff, even though that's why you kind of went through the entire time? Like, where was that issue, that disconnect of why he left? And if there's any sign of trouble from his game or coaching or frustration, does he just like lock it all in and shut himself off? And that team just really struggles and implodes. So I think that really is the biggest key for me to keep watch them. Either they're really, really good or they're a 500 team and middle of the pack and making a Camille Bowl or something like that. And, moving on to next year.